You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Folks, at today's news conference, and this often happens when we cover these stories where there'll be other families who have had sons or daughters shot and killed by police. Well, the family of Fred Cox, they appeared at today's news conference. They are from High Point, North Carolina, and they told the story of their son being shot and killed at a church by a detective from a neighboring county. After the news conference, I caught up with Fred Cox's mother and father for their shocking and unbelievable story and how they are still in search of answers in the death of their son 6 months ago. So, first of all, tell us Fred Cox, the case of Fred Cox. What happened?
Fred was attending the funeral of one of his close friends, and shots rang out on one side of the church. On the opposite side of the church, a detective chased him into the church as he ushered a mother and her son into the church for safety and shot him in the back twice, one side in the back of the neck and one to the thigh as he ran to a church. My baby's body laid inside the church. We do not know who the detective is. They will not release his name, and it's been almost 6 months, and I'm still fighting.
So in terms of, so obviously there was a shooting. In terms of the district attorney, nothing? Nothing from them? Nothing at all?
She called me on Friday to say she was giving me a courtesy call. I'm not sure what a courtesy call means because 6 months ago, my son was murdered. So what is a courtesy call? And I'm trying to sympathize with her like, ma'am, this is my child. He's gone. The only child that I have killed in a church. What do you mean you giving me a courtesy call? But that's all she would say. She would not give me any more information.
We haven't heard anything. We don't know anything. Just like you asking us questions, we have no answer.
Was it a city police officer? Was it a sheriff's deputy? Do you even know that?
Davidson County detective. Davidson County detective. He was out of his jurisdiction, and his higher up stated in the paper that he didn't know if he was off duty, if he was working the case. He didn't even know.
So you say he was out of his jurisdiction. The shooting did not take place in Davidson County?
No, sir.
So what county?
In Guilford County.
What county was that?
Guilford.
Guilford County.
And he was a Davidson County detective.
So what was he doing there?
He said, from my understanding, again, no one will contact me. He was doing an ongoing investigation. I don't know.
Now, was he at the church at the funeral, or was he somewhere else?
He was inside the church at the funeral. From my understanding, he was in close perimeter to my son. He saw my son. He walked past my son in the church. So he knew exactly who my son was, as if he was targeting him alone. My son was in his car, jumped out his car, and pushed the lady, and her son was telling them, get in the church, they shooting. And he chased my baby in the church and shot him from behind.
So that was shooting taking place outside? On
the opposite side of the church, and my son was murdered on the other side of the church.
So was the shooting taking place at the church, or was it nearby? Was it...
It was nearby. It was on the side street.
So to y'all understanding, it wasn't people who were actually attending the funeral?
No. It was nobody attending the funeral that we know of.
So there's a shooting taking place near the church. Your son's in the parking lot, in his car. Was he leaving or was he just arriving?
The lady, the eyewitness, the key witness said that he was in the car. The car was crunked. She could feel the wind from the air being on. So he was ready to go when the shot started firing. And he jumped out the car, and because she was speaking with him through his window. And they run into the church for safety, and he was pushing her. She said he fell, and she was reaching out for him. But she said she knew if she stopped, she would be murdered too. She said he was just laying face down.
So shots were being fired. He's pushing her into the church.
And so
She kept saying somebody was chasing us. Somebody was shooting inside the church. It was the detective chasing them in the church while shooting.
So the detective was inside the church attending the funeral.
Yes.
There's a shooting that's taking place outside,
yes.
Not at the funeral, but across the street.
On the street of the church. We don't know if it was connected. We don't know.
Shots ring out. All of a sudden, he's pushing his lady in for safety. He's on the outside, pushing her on the inside. Next thing you know, shots are fired on the inside to him outside.
Yep. That's right, from my understanding. And she is the key witness. I did speak to someone at the SBI. The SBI is putting it off on the DA. The DA is putting it off on the SBI. It's like tug of war, but I'm getting no answers 6 months later.
So who is the DA?
Avery Crump.
Avery Crump. And she gave you a courtesy call when?
On last Friday.
And the call was just to say, hey?
Hello, I'm just letting you, I'm giving you a courtesy call. We are working on your case.
But it's been 6 months.
Exactly. 6 long months.
Who is, have y'all hired an attorney to represent y'all to bring pressure on them? And who is that?
We have Ben Crump on our case.
When did y'all hire Ben?
Back in December, January. So he has been working on getting things in order and working on a local attorney.
All right, then. Well, we certainly appreciate it. And hopefully we'll make some calls. Hopefully we can get some answers.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it. And also, how old was your son?
My son was 18 years old.
Just turned 18.
Just turned 18 and just graduated from high school.
Wow.
Played football. Anybody knows Fred. He was well-mannered. Still, he was one of those kids that said, yes, ma'am, no, sir. He was that type of child. And they have tried to crucify his name. But who is this detective? Who is Detective Hill? Is he working? Is he on paid vacation?
In fact, the woman who you said was a witness, has she been interviewed?
She said the interview was so light, it was not to prosecute. She said she was ashamed of the interview from the SBI.
Okay. All right. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I simply can't imagine, Kelly, being a parent and this is the case. I just can't imagine that you're sitting here and you're not getting answers when it comes to your child. When it comes to what happened to your child. That to me is unbelievable.
It's not only unbelievable, it's just incredibly depressing and frankly scary because it shows you just how many cases there are like this that don't hit the media, that don't get the attention they deserve, that are just slip through the cracks because that's how many of us are dying. One thing I wanted to mention that I forgot when it came to the Andrew Brown case, but it also applies to this High Point case, is the fact that the reason I believe there's not as much coverage on this story, media notwithstanding, is because these two cities are really heavy college towns. Elizabeth City is home to Elizabeth City State University, which is a HBCU. High Point has Shaw, NCAT, Winston-Salem within a 20 to 30 mile radius. I almost guarantee you, had it not been for COVID and the restrictions and the limitations on in-person learning, this would get a whole lot more traction and or more students would be, more Black bodies would be in danger under the guise of these cops. So just something to keep in mind moving forward, how important our youth are when it comes to bringing awareness to these cases, because they're the ones with the cameras. They're the ones who don't have as much fear as our predecessors and our parents and our grandparents when it comes to situations like this. They will be out front, they will fight, and they will actually make sure that their voices are heard on behalf of the victim in these cases. So I just wanted to point that out.
Again, this is being, as I listen to that mother and father, 6 months, and again, son outside trying to save other people, and then he gets killed from a cop on the inside? Yeah. And 6 months and they have no answer?
That's the part, Roland, that really throws me because, you know, this young man, he was at a funeral. So you can't go to a funeral without getting killed by a police officer. Andrew Brown was trying to get away with his life, complying, getting killed by a police officer. Ma'Khia Bryant, defending herself, got killed by a police officer. Breonna Taylor, sleeping in her bed, got killed by a police officer. Just so many. Like, where can we go? We can't eat. We can't sleep. We can't walk. We can't drive. We can't do anything without getting shot. And then we can't get justice after the fact because they have been able to filibuster this case for Fred Cox for the last 6 months, which is obscene. And I just can't imagine the pain of that family having to cope with not only the loss of their son, but also the gross injustice that they're facing.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.